how you experience a situation, how you experience the energy of a situation tells a lot about how that event, that moment in time is going to impact your life and impact how you feel about this moment in time once it has passed. Now, when you go into a situation, when you put a fiery, quick moving, jump in head first energy onto a situation, that can start out really great, really fun, really like alive. And by the end, feel like quite the weight to bear. And that's what we're talking about in today's episode of the Expedition to Soul podcast. We know that you were born magical. We know that you are intuitive, and we know that you are brimming with everyday enchantment. Here at the Sisters Enchanted, we believe in intention, we believe in intuition, and we believe in everyday magic. Welcome in to the Expedition to Soul podcast. Welcome in. I'm Sara, founder of the Sisters Enchanted, and today is part 3 of our special tarot stories kind of series that we have going on here in our Expedition to Soul podcast. If you're listening to this in real time, episodes 1 and 2 are waiting for you. If you're back here, find your way here in the future, and they're all already done, go ahead, binge them, get some tea, some water, whatever. I don't know, pen and paper, binge the episodes. But for now, episode 3 of our special series, and we're talking about the suit of wands in tarot. Now, the suit of wands is aligned with fire energy. It is aligned with the full moon energy. It is aligned with summer shadow work and our 5-eye framework insight, and the expansion archetype of the adventurer. Now, this is an interesting one for me to talk about because I've got tons of Sagittarius, tons of fire in my birth chart. But my number 1 expansion archetype is a wanderer. My number 2 is an adventurer. And depending on the energy, like where my mind is when I take the quiz for my result, I have had it be number 2, and I've also tied for number 1 with wanderer. So I'm like a wanderer adventurer over here. Most recently, they were tied. So I get this energy. I totally get it. Now, with the wands and our minor arcana story, that's what we're going through here is the minor arcana story. With the wands, we start out with a lot of like hopefulness, a lot of anticipation, what could happen. Our 2 and our 3 of wands are both a person like looking out over a landscape, and it's like they're looking for, the journey ahead, what's to come, possibility, what lies beyond exactly what you can see, like what's the next step forward. Then we have the 4 of wands, which is the marriage card. And it is this card of like coming together, the declaration has been made. It's a joyous card, right? It's an abundant card, but a card of celebration. From there, we go to the 5. Now, I mentioned in part 1 and 2 of this series that the 5 in the minor arcana, it's always sort of the turning point. It's the conflict card. And it's right in the middle because the minor arcana, each suit goes ace through 10, 1 through 10. The 5 is right there in the middle. And with the wands, what we see are 5 figures, 5 people, and they each have a wand or a stick in their hand, and they're kind of like interlocked, right? Now, the thing about the 5 of wands is you can't really tell by the image whether these people are at battle or they're trying to come together and do something, and they just can't, like they're in the middle of it. They can't make it happen. They're all kind of like everyone's trying to work together, but they're each also following their own plan. And so they're not really working together. And it's challenging. Like, are they fighting or are they just not coming together? You don't really know. Well, here's the thing about energy, fire energy. Fire energy in particular can be very transformative. It can keep you warm. It can cook your food, do all the things we need it to do. It can also be very destructive when it takes over, when it heats up too much. What's like that? Our emotions can be like that, which does have its own suit in tarot. It's not this one, but our emotions can be like that. Our opinions can be like that. Our passions, our drives, our shadow selves can be like that, where everything's kind of okay. The conversation is fine. Suddenly, You're in a conversation with someone and it seems like the pieces aren't quite coming together. Next thing you know, you're in a full-blown argument and you have no idea what happened. That's your shadow. That's your shadow kind of being poked at and then coming out in this argument, or like not being able to slow down, step back, see the way out. This is what can happen with the suit of wands. And it's this adventurer energy. The adventurer and the expansion archetypes will dive in head first. And remember, the expansion archetype is both how you sabotage and also how you manifest. So we can create, like an adventurer can create and can really manifest these abundant energies and these experiences by saying yes and jumping in head first. But how this sabotages when you jump in head first and don't align your energy with how you're about to experience what's happening. So when the experience becomes all consuming or it becomes too much, or you haven't really created the space to have the experience so that you can also take care of yourself at the same time, that's where things go sideways and can go sideways for an adventurer. So, how this works in the suit of wands and tarot, we get to the other side of the five and things start to change. Things start to change. In the six, we see like a separation from the collective where there's one person separately riding on the back of a horse, sometimes like above the other people. So there's this separation. Before we were all together trying to remember there was a marriage, like there was a marriage, there was a unity. Then at five, there's some conflict. Now one person's separate from everybody. And from there, I mean, it really just goes sideways. We have the seven of wands where it's like a battle. We have the eight of wands, which is just like eight wands quickly moving through the air because of how quickly our experience can change, how we're experiencing a situation can change very, very quickly. We have the nine of wands, which looks like someone who's been in a battle and is like looking around for the next hit. And then we have the 10 of wands, which is a person carrying this heavy bundle of sticks like by themselves with no help. So, what we start with is possibility, adventure, excitement, the journey. There's a unity, there's a marriage, there's a coming together. Then there's a falling apart and a separation. And then you're by yourself. And then things move quickly. Next thing you know, you're holding the load. And this is the energy of the wands. It's about how you're experiencing a situation. Are you jumping in head first? Or are you aligning your decisions to the life you desire to live intentionally so you don't end up making these quick decisions? You don't end up separating from what you want to have happen because you jumped in head first into something, right? And this is also the story of the adventurer. This is the lesson that the adventurer archetype must learn. And it's the lesson we all must learn through the third eye and our five eye expansion spiral insight, doing shadow work. Where do we make choices? Where do we react? Where do we experience based on a quick moving energy, a quick thought, a quick thing that happens? Next thing you know, nothing's merry and we're separate and we are, look like we've been through a battle, or we're carrying all of these wands by ourselves with nobody to help because we put ourselves in the position to experience this separateness, this conflict, right? Without really slowing down to see what's happening, slowing down to heal. Now, when we look at the world around us, the actual earth around us, at the longest day of the year happens in June for us in the northern hemisphere. And by the time this comes, typically the trees are all in bloom again. Flowers have bloomed. It's warm out. Like it is firmly summertime, right? Firmly, firmly summertime. And it feels like it can happen really fast. The spring just sort of comes and goes. And then next thing you know, it is summer. But here's the thing, also with summer can come drought, can come really hot days. It's unexpected, right? Whether or not we're going to have enough rain to have the food that we need to grow and like feed everybody and take care of the land. I live in an area where many of us have well water. And so if it doesn't rain and it's these beautiful big hot days, though, we don't have water. We go into drought and we don't have water. And this happens all over the world. Here in America, where I live at least, it's like 50-50. Some people have wells, some people have city water. And it's a thing that's not everybody knows about, but it certainly happens here. And when that comes, though, this is where we can consider how we're experiencing things, right? And how unpredictable that fire energy can be, because that fire energy can bring that momentum, it can bring that opportunity, it can bring the light. But left unchecked, it can also move very quickly and turn things around and leave you reeling and not knowing how you got where you are. So we can see that happen quickly with us in the seasonal year and in experience with earth and how the elements interact with us. We can see it in the story of the wands. We can see it in our own selves. When our shadow bits get poked and prodded and backed into a corner, they come out quickly and they come out swinging. And so we go from this beautiful opportunity energy and joyful energy and marriage energy to like just battle, separateness, and hardship, like really feeling heavy, not feeling like opportunity. We see that in that story, and our adventurers see it in how they create and manifest through this passion, through this like yes energy, but also how they sabotage through that because they'll say yes, they'll jump in head first and leave their schedules unchecked, leave their relationships sort of like, how does this fit in with my relationships? Leaving that unchecked, leaving themselves unchecked, and prioritizing other people before they prioritize themselves. And then they're left feeling like they're carrying this big bundle of sticks all by their lonesome with no one to help them when it all started as so much opportunity. So, this is the story that we have here. Now, in our series, we started with the pentacles, which is our earth energy, it's our mapper energy, it's our winter energy. Then we moved to the swords. That is our spring energy, it's our air, our wanderer, and the expansion archetypes. And now we are on fire, we're on the wands. This is our adventurer, it's our summer energy. It shines the light on your experience. How are you experiencing your day to day right now? Does it feel like opportunity? Or does it feel like you're carrying a whole load of stuff all by yourself? How are you experiencing this, right? So, pentacles is our behavior, swords is our perception of a situation, wands is our experience of it. What's it feeling like? What's it feeling like to us? And this is where we can get into that shadow work. It's where we can do that with the full moon. We can release and make space. We can change some of these stories up. All the stories tie together and they all tie together within you too. You carry each of the expansion archetypes within you and you carry all these stories within you. And for each of us at different points in time in our life experience, one will be more present than the other. If you're interested in figuring out what expansion archetype is very present for you right now, be sure to join us in Magic Week. That's where you'll find out and where you'll get all the information too about how you sabotage and how you expand based on that archetype. You can find that information at signup.thesistersenchanted.com/Magic Week. And of course, we'll have it linked everywhere as well. If you ever want more tarot resources, you can find them on our blog, on Instagram, YouTube. We've got some podcast resources around tarot, so many good things. But for now, check out that Magic Week link because you want to know your expansion archetype. Believe me, it's really, really good stuff and eye opening to get to know yourself in that way. All right, our next special is coming up in just a few days of this series on the Expedition to Soul podcast, and it is going to be about the cups. Will be episode 4 in this special series. So until next time, thank you for listening in, and I hope that you have an enchanted rest of your day ahead. If you liked this episode of the Expedition to Soul podcast, please rate, review, subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, it will really help us spread everyday magic, intention, and intuition to the masses and helps us so much as a small business. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If there's any topics you'd want to hear, anything you want us to dive deeper into, shoot us an email at magic@thesistersenchanted.com. And as always, thank you so much for listening and being part of the community here at the Sisters Enchanted. And we'll see you in the next episode.